Good day, all. I'd like to firstly thank you for joining today's first official press conference of the Sri Lanka Test Tour 2021, where the West Indies men will take on Sri Lanka in 2 test matches. Today, as promised, we have head coach Phil Simmons available to speak with you after our first day of training today here in Colombo. Without much further ado, I want to firstly thank you guys for being here, and secondly, welcome head coach and thank him for being here and taking time out of his busy schedule to answer questions. Welcome, Coach. If you have questions, I'm asking you to please show an indication by raising your hand in the Zoom group chat. I will look to address these in a chronological order. And the first question, the first raised hand that I'm seeing is from Leighton Levy. Leighton, please proceed with your question.
Morning, Coach. How are you doing? Morning, everyone. Coach,
I'm good.
The last series against Sri Lanka, we had some issues against their spinners. Can you say if this will be one of the focus of areas of preparation leading into this series, given that we're playing at their home now, where their pitches will most likely benefit their bowlers? Can you give us a sense of what the work will be like to address those concerns?
Yeah, I think it would be a heavy dose of spin coming from them, because we saw that when they played in England, they even opened the bowling with a spinner. So we are going to be focusing on a lot on how we combat that spin with the new ball, and then bat as normal after that, because we've played spin all right in Bangladesh. We did what we had to do to score the runs we needed and to win the game. So we need to bring that same sort of mentality that we had on that away tour, and the preparation today started like that.
Another quick follow-up. You know, we spoke about it in the World Cup, but this is a test series where it's even more important now. Time at the crease and rotating the strike so as not to get bogged down. Will that also be another area of focus?
Yeah, it's definitely an area of focus, especially when you're playing against quality spinners. You have to continually change their mode, especially if we have left and right and at the crease. So it is something that we're going to be discussing and put it into practice.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
No problem.
Ryan.
Hi, Coach. How are you doing? Thanks, Dario.
I'm good, Ryan. How are you?
Good. Commiserations on the World Cup campaign. Coach, looking ahead to the Sri Lanka tour, one of your newest players on the team, and maybe one of your younger ones, is Jeremy Solizano. Can you tell me a little bit about his selection? And, I know there wasn't a lot of cricket over the last 2 seasons to judge any cricketers on, but he's been in with the Red Force team for a long time. And your general thoughts on Jeremy?
General thoughts is that compact young opener, and we keep searching for the captain's partner. He looked the best in the recently concluded best v best matches, and so he's got his chance, and we keep our fingers crossed that that's the piece of the puzzle that we're looking for at the top, because we've tried a lot of players at the top there, and it's time we find someone permanent for the captain's partner.
All right, gotcha. And also, leaving out Shamar Brooks, how challenging was that, given that Shamar has been, while he hasn't set it on fire, he has certainly been a good servant to your team for some series?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and sometimes the difficult decisions come up in selection, and this was one of them. It's difficult to have to leave him out, but on this occasion, we had to.
And just one final one from me. Virasamy Permaul coming back into the team. Any thoughts on him coming back, and any particular point of plan you have for him, given that you'll be playing on the subcontinent?
Well, the thing is, firstly, we go through these practices and we go into the 4-day game, and then when we get to Gaul, because we're actually in Colombo now playing the 4-day game, when we get to Gaul and we see the pitch, we'll know whether we're going there with a load of spinners like maybe they would, or whether we still have our 2 or 3 quicks. So when we get up to Gaul, and depends on the performances in the 4-day game here, then we can make that decision.
Just final question from me as well. I know that I'm not sure if you got accustomed to having big squads, given the COVID-19 pandemic and traveling with a bigger team. You think you're pretty much back down to 15 now. Any concerns with that? Would you have liked to have 7, 10 players extra?
Well, it's seen that it happened on a few tours. Yes, you would love to have it, but cricket West Indies budget cannot afford it. So we're back down to 15. And you know, we know what this is like. This is what we are accustomed to before the pandemic. So we get back to old ways, and we hope that we getting back to old ways at 15 means that we're getting closer to some normalcy with the pandemic also.
Yeah, speaking about old ways, you'd love to get back to, you know, your good performances in Test cricket, given the disappointment of the World Cup, I'm sure.
Yeah. After a huge disappointment like that, we want to get back to winning ways, and especially winning away, which we did at the start of the year. It'd be nice to finish the year the way we started it.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you.
Chrisania Young, please proceed with your questions.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I don't know if this
Morning,
question was
Christina.
asked already because I'm a bit late, but I wanted to know where Shannon Gabriel would be in the pecking order for this particular series, given that his injuries did not allow him to participate in the last few series here in the Caribbean, and young Seals who took his place performed so admirably.
Well, the pecking order will be determined by how people bowl in the 4-day game coming up here. I think Shannon is one of your senior bowlers, and actually has been for a number of years the best bowler away from the Caribbean seam-wise. So he does command that respect outside of the Caribbean. So we'll have to see after the 4-day game where things at and know what combination we want to go in, and then we can decide who is 1, 2, 3 in the pecking order.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Guys, we'll move on to a question from Lennox Aldred and then a question from Leighton Levy, but I'm asking, please, if you guys could show indication of questions by raising your hand in the Zoom group chat rather than type in a message, please.
Greetings, morning everybody. Blessings, Coach.
Hello, Lennox.
Ryan had mentioned earlier that young Salazar is pretty much the third partner for the skipper. They're all left-handers as well. So I'll go back to the Jamaican opener, John Campbell. There's no cricket being played around the region. How would a player like John Campbell be able to get back into the West Indies team if there's no cricket to judge him off?
Well, we have cricket starting back, 4-day cricket starting back in the new year. So he will have an opportunity to play for Jamaica again. He wasn't available for the best v best match in the 2 matches in Antigua. So he will start back with the Jamaica team in the new year, and then try to force his way back in.
Right, and as I'd mentioned earlier, all of the openers are left-handers. Is that a particular ploy that you are looking for, or is it just coincidental?
It's coincidental. I think we seem to be producing a lot of left-handers around the Caribbean these days, so it's just coincidental.
All right, Coach. All the best.
Thank you.
Coach, me again. There's a question I wanted to ask at the top. I completely forgot. Joshua De Silva. When he just started out, he was pretty solid down in the lower order, being a significant role player in some significant partnerships for the West Indies. However, in the last few series, in fact, last 2 games at home, his form with the bat has fallen off. He's averaging just under 14, as opposed to his away average, which is 39. Are you concerned about the dip in form, a significant dip in form? And if any, what impact do you think that could have with the lower order batting, as opposed to what you obtained before when he just came into the squad?
Well, a dip like that is always a concern, but as you mentioned, there is away form is a lot better than his home form. So we hope that is not coincidental, and that's a strength of his. So we are away now, and hopefully he lives up to. And I said again, as he started the year, hopefully he finishes the year like that.
Okay, thanks.
No problem, Nate.
Gavin Richards.
Hi, good morning, Coach. Just
Morning,
a question on Shea Hope. He's getting another opportunity. He's a batsman that has had a lot of promise, or showed a lot of promise, I should say, at the start of his career, but he hasn't, really been as consistent as you would have liked him to be. Any words on Shea Hope and how he's been looking so far back in the team?
Well, Shea's been looking good. He's played well in the 2 games, best games before the squad was selected, and today first practice he looked good. So we working hard with him to see if we can get him back to where he was in England, not just form-wise, mentally, physically, everything. Working hard to try and get him back to that, because we know how valuable a player he can be.
Brandon Collett, please proceed with your question.
Hi there, Coach. Hope all is well.
Hi, Brandon. Good.
Yeah, Roston Chase is somewhat of a batting all-rounder. Will Roston Chase play an important role with the ball in the series?
Well, it's left to be seen. You can't say that if we haven't even gone through the first few practices and the practice match. So as we go along, we will see if that's the case or if not.
And a lot of spinners stocked in the squad. Who is the first choice spinner for the West Indies Test team?
That's a good question. As you say, we have a lot of spinners so far on away tours. Rakim Cornwall has been the number 1 spinner in Bangladesh. As we said at the start of the year, he was there. So we look at the main spinners, and I would suppose Rakim would be your first spinner.
All right, Coach. Go well.
Thank you.
Ryan Bashu, and then we'll take the final question of today's engagement from Gavin Richard, or the final set of questions. Please proceed, guys.
Coach, I didn't get the chance to ask you earlier about your opponent. Sri Lanka, if anything, by their World Cup performance, very good young team, potential, promising. Any words on them and facing them at home and the challenges of facing a team that's certainly look as promising as this one?
Well, facing them at home has always been a difficult task, and it's no different now. And as you say, it's a younger team, but I think it's going to be close to the team that we had in the Caribbean. Quite a few of the young guys who played in that series are still there, and it's going to be a tough series. We know that when you come to the subcontinent and play against these teams at home, it's always going to be tough. So we have to make sure that in this 4-day game, we get our fighting spirit especially when it comes to batting, because that's going to be the more difficult aspect of this tour.
Thanks a lot, Coach. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Okay, Coach, there's a question on Jaden Seals. It's going to be his first away series for the West Indies. He had a very good showing at home. What can you tell me about Jaden Seals? What sort of words of advice have you been giving him, for this new engagement, this new assignment away from home for the first time?
Well, it's about settling in and getting accustomed to the conditions. Today, first practice, we have a couple more practice before the 4-day game, but in the 4-day game, it's about understanding the conditions will be different to the Caribbean, and knowing how he has to bowl in the conditions, especially we're playing here with Kookaburra ball rather than in the Caribbean with Jukes ball, which is a huge difference for fast bowlers. So it's about getting accustomed to that and knowing the conditions quickly enough.
Thank you, Coach.
No problem.
All right, thank you, Coach, and thank you to the media for showing up for today's press
problem.
conference. We look forward to having you in future engagements. I've sent out the full schedule of press conferences to the media chat, along with the Zoom link and password. So we look forward to Craig Brathwaite tomorrow evening. Thanks again, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.